Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today in this special session exploring non-fungible assets and decentralized finance. This is such an exciting topic on a great day for crypto markets. And whether you've been involved in the NFT space for a while or the recent flurry of media attention around NFT sales has piqued your interest, I'm sure you're going to get a lot out of today's session. My name is Alyssa Ostrov. I'm the Chief of Staff at CryptoCompare. While our focus at CryptoCompare is on providing premium market data and research, we love to promote the maturity of this industry through our conferences and virtual events like these to bring people together who are really making waves in the future of digital assets. I've had the pleasure of getting to work with the awesome team at AAVE to put this webinar together. We'll be announcing some more panels together next month as well, so if you enjoyed today's event, please do stay tuned for upcoming sessions. Well, you'll be hearing from Stani and hopefully Jordan in just a moment on our panel. I do want to just give AAVE a quick shout out. As a fun fact that I just learned, their name is actually taken from the Finnish word for ghost. AAVE has built AAVE Protocol, a decentralized, open source, and non-custodial liquidity protocol on Ethereum. AAVE allows users to earn interest on deposits and borrow digital assets. Since today is a live session, we want to keep this as interactive as possible. Please write in your questions throughout the session. Zoom has a great Q&A feature, and they'll try to get to as many as possible throughout the hour. As moderator for today's session, I have the great pleasure of introducing Erikan Obotetukudo, who is really inspiring woman in this industry. Erikan is the co-founder of Crypto for Black Economic Empowerment, or CBEE, a global community of Black African crypto founders, investors, and artists across 20 countries. 2021 marks 100 years after the original Black Wall Street was bombed in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And today, CBEE has emerged as the digital Black Wall Street, leveraging crypto to create new economies for Black people across the world. Erikan is also general partner of the 100 Fund, a new crypto fund committed to building the next 100 years and investing in emerging communities and markets globally, starting with Africa. So with that, I'll leave it to Erikan to kick off our panel. But again, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, everybody. So first and foremost, if you are in the audience today on this here April 13th, shout out to you. You showed up, you decided that you wanted to participate in this conversation, you followed your curiosity, and that's all about what crypto is about, what blockchain about, and really what the next generation of the internet is really about. So we want to salute you for showing up. So today, as Alyssa helped us expand on, we're getting into NFTs, we're getting into DeFi, we're going to really explore some of the depth and more exciting and interesting and meaningful context on both of those different elements. And we have the best people to have this conversation with you. I'm particularly thrilled to not only have LIENSZ, who is the amazing NFT artist behind Boys and Girls, also creative director. Please find LIENSZ online. Amazing, amazing work. LIENSZ, welcome, welcome, welcome. And feel free to just give an initial introduction on yourself and tell us who you are.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Erikan. So I'm a designer, an artist, creator, creative director by day, and mother of boys and girls by night. My work usually falls under minimalistic, bold. I love experimenting with different digital mediums. I'm a 3D illustrator, and I also do a lot of other things like animation and any kind of other illustrations as well as branding and graphic design. I've been working in design since I was quite young, since 2010. Originally from Israel, then I moved to New York for 9 years, and now I'm kind of around the West Coast, but moving around a lot with this incredible year, an incredibly difficult year that we all had. Me and my husband really felt like really traveling and figuring out where we want to go next and where we want to be while working remotely has been an exciting journey. So I'm kind of all over the place right now. But yeah, I've started Boys and Girls as not my first NFT project, really trying out different things and somehow landing on a collectible. and really wanted to explore the relationship between art and collectibles. And that's what I do with my project right now.
Amazing. We're going to dive into that and explore the connections to finance as an artist. So I can't wait to get to you on that side. Stani, please tell us a little bit more about you, maybe your role and what excites you most about AAVE.
Sure. So yeah, I'm the CEO of AAVE. So AAVE is a decentralized interest rate protocol where you can put assets into the protocol and earn interest. And these assets practically can be different kinds of cryptographic assets. And I think I've been building decentralized finance or in wider understanding Web3 technologies for the past 5 years. And pretty much before that, I used to work with an academic background. I'm a lawyer and worked in the legal industry. And before that, I used to build financial technology applications, fintech. And what we're doing now is pretty much we're building financial applications on smart contracts, so on Ethereum and blockchain, and kind of like believe that this is the future of value network. And as we now see that value can be a bit of much of anything, can be currencies, can be physical goods, it can be just anything that has a cryptographic assignment to it. And also in the NFT space, I've been quite a heavy collector. So I love art, and I love like people expressing different kinds of things. And I would say that for me, what's interesting to see now is that we see a lot of community involvement. So what, for example, AAVE protocol is, and what we see in the NFT space is that there is sort of like a community involvement here, and that is something that excites me quite a lot. And I think that like value should be it should belong to the community, and the community ownership should be like the approach for future finance. Yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Amazing. So for everyone in the audience, you all are probably here wondering, okay, I think I maybe understand NFTs, maybe I get DeFi. So LIตั๋ONA and Stani, please just help us, give us a fundamental definition of NFTs and DeFi. What are they? And a comment on why do you think they are the future fundamentally? And what is maybe unexpected or misunderstood about them?
I'll let Stani take the stage. I can explain a little bit about NFTs, but DeFi is his thing.
Okay.
I can explain a bit DeFi part, and LIตั๋ONA knows better NFTs than I do. So yeah, so decentralized finance, it's just a practically set of agreements, smart contracts on the blockchain, which allows you to do transactioning. So pretty much some of this transactioning might be lending, borrowing, trading. So you can swap assets from one asset to another. And the idea of decentralized finance actually is that all of these protocols and services, they're accessible widely, in the sense that there isn't any kind of like a censorship involved in participating in decentralized finance, meaning that if you want to deposit your assets into, let's say, AAVE protocol or some other protocol, or you want to swap, there isn't kind of like a component or restriction for you to do that. And that's kind of like the permissionless nature when you hear that kind of a word. And permissionless also doesn't mean the permissionless way to participate, but also permissionless way to build new things, because DeFi as a community is open source, meaning that anyone can actually anywhere in the world just can build the next AAVE, and because the network is connected with each other, because it's on the same blockchain network, you basically can gain liquidity by creating better, more efficient financial products. And one very important factor, like why DeFi is very intriguing, is that all of this transactioning now is public, which means that we actually see everything that is happening. And this brings a lot of transparency, especially when we look at, let's say, back in 2008, when we have financial crisis and what led to it. And there was a lot of exposures from investment banks to another investment banks. And it was very difficult to calculate how much everyone was exposed. But in DeFi, everything is pretty much seen on the network level. So you can see like what are the collateral levels in AAVE, how much there's depth in the system. And also, like, let's say if there is a stable coin on Ethereum, let's say USDC, which is quite widely used, you can also see like which protocols have and what portion of this particular stable coin. So it's pretty much about transparency, accessibility, and you know, kind of like a ability to build new things efficiently and building better finance. That's what DeFi is.
Yeah. And in terms of NFTs, I think they are tied into DeFi nowadays as well, because they are, instead of just a fungible token or like a dollar or an ETH, which everything is kind of worth the same and they're all the same, NFTs have their very unique address. So they're each of them is different from one another, and it's basically another token on the blockchain. But it's a unique one that has its history tied to it and all the information, its price, and then you could always revert back, look back and see where this token has been. And each of them is different than one another. That's why it's non-fungible. You can't like really exchange them from one another as you can do with a dollar or an ETH.
So we are curious to learn, thank you for that. How could it be that an NFT is a financial instrument? Help us understand a little bit, call it maybe the economics or the value component of NFTs, because we're seeing the headlines. We've obviously seen the Beeples and the other different shops and all those things, Top Shots. Mm-hmm. And we want to know, how are the economics working out for NFTs, and what's really the value of either creating an NFT or buying one from a financial standpoint? Help us understand that part.
I think like everything in the world, it is about value, and value is put on things by people. Same goes for any kind of currency, right? Like if you believe it, it's worth something. And if you don't believe it, it's not, and it'll go down or it'll never pick up like any other currency in the world. So I think when it comes to NFTs, they could be other things other than just visual art, right? They could be music, and they could be really information, they could be text, they could be everything that someone puts value on. So for me, people getting attracted to art and wanting to collect art, and for that it stores value, is an ancient concept. Like it's been around for many years. So if we just think about it this way, people store value in so many different things, in real estate and in art and in, you know, money in their bank. And that's just another one of those financial instruments that people are collecting. So now they're collecting it on the blockchain. Before they were collecting it using these like big companies that helped you buy art and then store it in a safe somewhere. Now you're just doing it in a more streamlined way online. So it really kind of just, it moves across into the virtual world, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would definitely like agree and add to that, kind of like when we look at like how previously like value was captured, it's usually like a you have some sort of like a user group audience that is using a product, and then you have like a centralized entity that is providing services and collecting the data, and based on the data is monetizing it and selling services. And now with the Web3, what's interesting here is that the blockchain changes this realm quite substantially, because the network is distributed enough that actually the store of value becomes like a concrete part of it. And this basically means that you can create systems where the value is possessed by the end user and by the artist, for example. And this is very substantially like a different mechanism that we saw previously, because everything is built on smart contracts, which practically means that you can set up any kind of parameters for, as a creator, how you want to initiate your sale, how the secondary market sales will go, and you can even put arguments there where, you know, every time the NFT is sold again, there's reselling revenue coming to the creator all the way. So it really changes a lot of dynamics there. And I think like this value network is just like not just part of NFTs, but we saw it in DeFi, and it will just expand over everything that we have in traditional finance and traditional world and traditional objects. And by the way, my colleague and my good friend Jordan
Hey everyone. Yeah, so sorry for being late. I had some Zoom issue.
Yeah, give him a bit break because he has a birthday today. So.
Oh yes! Happy birthday, Jordan!
Thank you.
Jordan boy.
All right. So Jordan, we got a great question for you, setting you up. And so we would love to learn from you, what makes NFTs unique in the financial industry as it relates to culture and community? Why are those elements actually relevant in a financial instrument? And how is it that culture and community are really drivers here in the NFT world?
Yeah, so I think, so I don't know what you guys just discussed in the last 20 minutes, but I think something that is unique about the NFT in general is that they can represent anything. It's like a unique non-fungible financial instrument that can represent anything. They can represent the provenance, like when did you buy it, and then you can build experience on, like based on the date you acquired something. They represent keys to access part of like a website, for example. So like you can build those communities based on the NFTs, but NFT themselves can be used to empower community as well. Like you can imagine fans or other type of communities that just organize themselves by airdropping an NFT, and this NFT represents your identity within that community. I think it's very powerful, and it relates to like how people are investing in NFT as well. They are investing in NFT to support those cultures. They are investing in NFT as like an NFT is part of a community itself. Like when you invest in the boys of Liron and the anything, it's this power that you have where you have like a ticket, like a golden ticket, which is make you part of like a community as your own identity, and not something which is more related to like an asset that is fungible, like 1 = 1, and you are just like part of a mass. NFT makes you your own within that blockchain.
Yes, amazing. I would love to learn more from Liron on your experience dropping NFTs. So can you help us understand what is a drop? How do you make an NFT happen? And what has been your experience making your artistic work available? And it sounds like we have some collectors in the house. So let us know what your experience has been, but walk us through that initial period on you deciding to do it, how it worked, and what the experience has been like for you, particularly different from any other artwork you've ever done in the past.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a commercial artist, so everything almost I've ever created was either put on Instagram and collecting, digital just dust, or I've sold my my creativity to bigger clients and to companies. And so when I heard about this really interesting thing, which was NFT, my husband works in DeFi. So I've been hearing about it for a while, but there wasn't a lot of engagement from artists when he started talking about it, or at least we didn't really know about it. And so he told me to look at, it was at the moment, it was then Nifty and Super Rare when they just came out with drops. And he was like, I think this is something that maybe you should pursue. It's interesting. You create your own work all the time and just put it on Instagram and nothing happens with it. Yes, you can get followers, you can get comments, you can get engagement, but really, A, you can't really monetize on it, and B, you can't really get, it's not a conversation. It's almost a one-sided thing. You just kind of like put something out there, and then you get some things back, but it's almost an echo chamber of like things that are happening within Instagram, and it's not a global thing. And so I started looking into it. my personal journey was a little bit discouraging because I tried to get on those big platforms multiple times and no one was hearing me. So I was getting kind of nervous that maybe my work isn't good enough and why aren't I being accepted to these big platforms? Where then I just kind of changed my perspective on things and decided that I'm just going to do what I really believe in and want to do. And looking at NFT as a medium rather than like a way to sell art. It's like understanding what is the idea of an NFT. And then I started, really making a list, and I arrived at basically ownership and collectibility. These are two things that I believe NFT has in its core. And although you could also create a one-on-one beautiful piece of art and then maybe, one day put it on a screen on your wall, I also believe that it is a token and it might be a financial instrument in the future. So creating something that's more of a community or a pool of work rather than just one individual piece of art was something that in terms of strategy was very important for me to think about. And honestly, my husband Gal helped me a lot to think about it because again, he comes from DeFi, so pooling and understanding a project as a whole and tokenizing things is in his blood. So it was really an amazing collaboration thinking about this project. And then I just kind of sat and started creating the first series of boys, which again, I knew I didn't want to just put one thing out there. I wanted to create a collective of work so they have a relationship between them to create an architecture for the project, which is these personal archetypes. So they're not just like random names. They are types of people. They're types of personalities. You can have a lot of personalities. You're not just one thing. You're not just, lit boy or dark boy, because Jordan has them both. And, with Stani, with Cosmic Boy, you can be a lot of type of boys, but I think, and girls, which is a project that I'm now developing as well and kind of just started not too long ago. And basically, the first thing that I wanted to do is to really gift the firstborn boy to someone who really inspired me in the NFT community. And he was a good friend. And he was also the person who kind of seen the first design. I put it on Instagram just to kind of gauge people's attentions and see if they react to it. And he wrote to me like, you have to mint this. This is perfect. I wanted. And I decided that because he inspired me to go for this project and really believed in the design that I designed, and I wanted to gift it to him. And I did. And I think him being grateful that I gifted it to him and kind of posting about it and talking about it, it got a little bit of an excitement around the project and got people talking and looking at the rest of the pieces. So I'm so thankful for Fundraising to kind of just being there and helping me out in the beginning. He was also the person who bought my first Genesis piece before Boys even, and really just an amazing supporter of artists everywhere. And that's what it was. And then I dropped them, and it's, I sold them very, very cheaply in the beginning for, a commercial artist. That wasn't any kind of cheap. That was
What's
amazing. And
cheap?
it was a lot of money for me. So it was like, compared to what they're worth now, it was like 0.2 ETH or something, 0.3 ETH, I think it was the first one. So the first ones that I put out, someone I think bought like 5 of them and then sold them for a lot of money later. And I'm so happy because again, I think what Stani was saying is that we have royalties. Artists now don't have to price their work as like a future sale. They could price their work for what it's worth when they're a beginner artist and what they feel like it's worth when they're a beginning artist. And later on, once this work gets more and more traction and the value goes up, then you're always going to enjoy the fruit of your labor and your work and creativity, and it always comes back to you. That's, I think, the biggest difference between NFTs and, the fine art world. When the first piece gets sold, then you're never going to be seeing any revenue from that work again. And so it's very egalitarian that way. You're always going to be a part of your work.
And
I hope that answers the question.
Go for it, Jordan.
If I can just continue on what Liron just said, is I think it's important for I see a lot of people trying to build collectibles, and like having a good distribution from the beginning, having something that is accessible is actually part. So for me, there is like two parts that makes a project successful. In the beginning is really trying to aim for the distribution of your work, trying to not like, since you can take advantage of like secondary market sale, like you just want distribution, you want your project to be in the hands of right people that actually see the value and seeing that it's actually underpriced. Like you want
Yeah.
people to think that they buy something and it's underpriced, not that they are buying at the right price or making a bet on you when they are buying it. You want them to think that they're actually making like a bargain, and they will become your ambassadors. And then something that is interesting as well is because if you think about like earlier project like CryptoPunks or CryptoKitties, they were priced very, very cheap as well. And they were cheap, and Ethereum was cheap there then as well.
Yeah.
But if something else as well to consider is that a lot of the value is even created after the collection is finished. So this is something that I'm looking forward for the boys and girls project as well, is like what happens when there is no more drops. Like
I would
how can
love
we as
to.
a community, and then at that point Liron will be just like a part of the community equal with us. Like how
Yes.
can we make this community valuable for everyone involved? This is something that is very interesting, and um, there hasn't been like a lot of experiences, and I think the true value start when there is no more primary markets and it's only
Yeah.
on secondary, and you just build that up.
Yes.
And I like
Agree.
to add, I definitely agree. And I like to add to that, basically, like, it's very interesting to see like what's the narrative after a drop, like what will be the next drop. That's kind of like a thing, like where this path will lead. And it's very like intriguing, and also kind of like it's a bit part of the community, kind of like a building, and also like how what you could do after, you know, those drops, and how people will what kind of like a narrative there will be. And it's just like very interesting. For example, like Liron's work, like first there was boys, and then there was like follow up with now with the girls as well, and seeing like where is it going. Will there be like even like a family, and you know, like toddler boys and girls, and and it's just like it's just like a mystery. And I don't know, but I somehow like feel like very attracted to that mystery, because you kind of, you are like completely in the control of the artist and the expression, and you know, it just keeps you surprising all the time. And it's just like Jordan sends me links, and like this just happened, and I was like, what, like from where? And just it's so exciting, and this is like direct like empowerment of the artist and the fans. They have the direct relationship, and I think this is like what's Web3 is all about as well.
My boy community is the most incredible, supportive group of people, boys and girls. And I'm inspired by them every day. First of all, when they are hinting that they want a collaboration with someone, with another artist, they really appreciate that they want to see us collaborating. That's the first thing on my list for me. I really want to keep giving the community the things that they want. Obviously, I'm creating things that work within the story. Not everything is possible. There are structures, and I think that's what makes the project successful. But I also think that pivoting is something that I'm always open to doing. Like, I didn't think in the beginning that I'll have boy collaborations, and now the entire like next month is dedicated to working with different people to create boys that are actually collaboration with other artists that I'm really inspired by, big and small. So I think it is really about working with the community and creating something that everyone feels really proud about and feel a part of.
Do you have an example nearby, perhaps, for folks to see?
I'm not letting you know yet.
Okay.
But I did hint, and I did show that we are working on a physical real boy, which is the 3D printed boy, So this is in a collaboration with a 3D printing artist, and we're going to be dropping that in the next week or so. It's still in the works, but it's going to be a really special one where basically anyone who buys the first NFT is the collector of the physical one. They're not tied to each other. Basically, the secondary market sale are just going to be the NFTs. But the first one, the Genesis Real Boy, is gifted with a real physical 3D boy.
Okay, so we've got a lot of questions. A lot of folks want to see examples. So if you want to release any further examples for folks, but some really amazing questions that I'll sort of field to you all, the panelists, and also happily will jump in on some of them. So we see, are NFTs and DeFi, this is from Alex Turti, are NFTs and DeFi best used as a part of a community only or primarily? I think Alex is trying to understand what's the community element between NFTs and DeFi. Do you all want to maybe just like really simply break down what aspect of DeFi and NFTs is community oriented, and is that the primary sort of element of them?
Yeah, maybe I can try. I think anyway, as like a basis, when you buy an NFT, you are part of a community. Like in the little less, I don't know, like in the smallest scenario, you are part of a community which is between you and the artist. That's like a two people community. If it's like just the artist made like one work unique, you just like join a community which is your relationship with the artist that you have now like on chain. But even if it's like not a collectible and it's just like the artist art that is dropping, like Liron was dropping before doing the boys. I think she had like a special relationship also with her collectors, and like she said about Fuck Render, and like I think it's like when you buy art, and this is probably like a bit stronger on chain because you have like this direct connection. But I think anyway, like when you buy art, you are part of like this community of collectors of that particular artist. And then DeFi can empower, like DeFi and Web3 in general, which is like the decentralized organization. They can basically organize those community in a more like native way to Web3, which means, for example, you could have voting system like DAOs where one NFT means one vote, and you can organize, like, for example, at some point maybe one boy is one vote, and the community will be able to vote on like design, like between, I don't know if Liron has like hesitation between two type of eyes, she could let community decide on something like this. Like that's like how you empower those community using Web3 tools. And you could imagine like on DeFi, like especially you could, something is like using those NFT as collateral to get loans, but also like you could imagine giving even like advances like to like Liron, for example, for the real boys, she had to finance them. But you could imagine that community get together and decide to give advances on chain to finance like a special work or something like this. And I guess that's something that is going to be more interesting. Like I could see something where like a community get together, they finance something to a smart contract, and then it's directly linked to the future sale. So when there is the future sale that is happening, the people that financed it, they get directly the money back and they get a premium on top of it. So they, like, you can link this all like just blocks of legal blocks that you can link together to build something that is quite amazing, where you don't need to trust that much. Well, of course, you always trust the artist to deliver, but that's like when you're buying art, you trust and believe in the artist.
So fundamental. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Stani.
Oh yeah, to add to that, it's actually very fascinating because kind of like, because the networks are pretty much like open, and there is this like a component of metaverse, because like there could be, let's say, in Liron's community, a developer who could just create a game where you could use boys there, and you know, and someone could create something else to that game. So there's like layers and multiple things. So kind of like even like the thing is like there's like the relationship with the artist and the community itself, and it can like evolve from there even like to wider like kind of like areas. And I think that's something that will happen quite soon, that we'll see. Let's say we saw it with CryptoKitties a bit, and for example that you had one particular game, then developers are doing just another game and just inviting certain type of NFTs. And I think this is going to be quite interesting, because it means that unlike previously, now you can just kind of participate into a brand and be part, and that brand is actually like the community itself and the relationships there within the community and artists, and that's like something very, very powerful.
Okay, so Jordan, you had mentioned something that Barry O'Dyer would like to know. Do you ever think people would be able to use an NFT as collateral for an AAVE loan? And if so, how does that work?
Yes, of course. So this is actually something that a lot of people are working to develop using AAVE, and that we are working toward as well. I think that's something that is like very interesting. There is many ways to solve that. Like there is one way which is especially easy when you have like collection which are 1155, which is like a collection of NFT where they are all like fungible to each other. So like keeping the example with Liron, she drops those 101 star ERC 721, and then she drops edition of 100. And those edition of 100, they are not like unique edition, so they are not numbered edition. One romantic boy is equal to another romantic boy. There is no like romantic boy number 1 and romantic boy number 2. So like you could pull those tokens together, and you could like use them as collateral because they are pooled, they have more liquidity. You can even like fractionalize one unique artwork to make pool. There is like a project, for example, called NFTX that is doing like fractionalization of like, now they did Hashmask and they did CryptoPunks. So like you have many ways you have like individual appraisal as well, where you would give a credit line to a unique piece of work, and that NFT would have like a credit line attached to it directly from the AAVE protocol. If you hold the NFT, you could borrow against it. So there is many solution, but this is definitely something that is interesting. This is definitely something that is going to be possible for multiple aspects within the space in the coming months, and AAVE will be always part of that narrative.
And related to that, actually, what's fascinating is that most of the kind of like value in the world are kind of in non-fungible properties. So real assets. It could be like anything that is like non-currency. That is why like solving this issue of NFT as a collateral is very like a groundbreaking in the sense that you could actually, as value transfers from physical world into this value network. And you can use that value as a collateral and use it in finance. It really brings out more liquidity and more funding into the space, and it really is a kind of like a big topic to solve. And as Jordan mentioned, definitely there's like very, very interesting projects working on this, and we at AAVE as well.
Okay, so we have some more questions. So we have Siamak Tebianen, I hope I said your name right. Is temporary NFT ownership a possibility in the realm of smart contracts? Can it be executed as such that you lend your NFT for a specific period of time and get it back automatically? Perhaps it's a similar question as the one before, but it's helpful to hear it phrased differently. What do you all think?
Yeah, so I don't think you can do it directly at the NFT level, but you could have a smart wallet that has the control and that can move your token, and it's basically then an experience built between the NFT and the wallet itself. But yeah, this is definitely something that is possible, and it's not only interesting in the context of like lending your NFT, and lending NFT has like a lot of use cases. For example, games. I'm thinking of like games that can be competitive. Sometimes imagine that you have like a trading card game on chain, and you want to borrow some cards for a competition that you don't want to buy, but you want them for just like 2 months or something like this. So like you have a lot of use cases, but it's also interesting even as like art experiment, where you could see your art as you don't want your art to just be in one place, and you would want your art to just move to random places and see like how it evolves and how people appreciate it. Maybe some people will just not see that they received an artwork, but I don't think that is yet possible. I think that would just be very interesting. I could imagine that. Imagine you have like an artwork that is priced at 1 million and you own it only 2 weeks in your wallet. You cannot do anything. You know it will leave in 2 weeks by itself. Like, what would you do with it? How would you take advantage of that opportunity? I think this is just like something that will be possible sometime, but like right now, it's not really possible to do just that. You need like the wallet to go with.
Okay, so what other kinds of NFTs besides art have real world applications, such as loans, deeds, titles for a house? Folks want to know beyond art, why should we care about NFTs, and what are real world examples?
Yeah, pretty much like, I mean, anything that isn't like concretely like interchangeable in the sense that you have some sort of uniqueness can be an NFT, and it doesn't have to be actually like a property like on a land or something like that. It can be also like something in a actually like finance book. So there's a few projects that are actually working on tokenization of debt, and that means that you might have, let's say, invoices that you might, for example, bill your customers, and there's some period of time that you have to wait. So what you can do, you can get finance in the traditional finance, but what some of the projects are doing, for example, Centrifuge, they're taking the invoice and tokenizing that as a ERC-71, and which is the non-fungible token. And then they're taking and packaging these tokens into a pool, and then you can actually finance them. And this is actually a project we work very closely from AAVE. And then there's of course like projects that are focusing more on tokenization of property in different jurisdictions. And there's even like projects doing tokenization of wine and whiskey. So I mean, it's just kind of like depends on the imagination how far you can go.
Yeah, I think one thing that we haven't quite emphasized, but that is really worth it, is the liquidity element. We're describing it in so many different ways, but just acknowledging that today liquidity in traditional financial markets is very challenging. If a bank is closed, then you can't grab your money. If the markets are closed, then you can't make a trade. And today you all are an example of, you're an artist who historically struggles to capture the value of your influence on culture. You create something on Instagram, and an ad campaign chooses to use that influence for their Instagram campaign that has a larger audience, and they make a lot of money because of a great fashion campaign or ad campaign, but you as the original artist doesn't get to see that. And today you can drop something, capitalize on that immediately, see cash immediately in your wallet, and now have all of the buyers or all of the fans around you get to feel close to you. And in return, you get liquidity on your creativity. And then into perpetuity, you'll always get royalty, AKA get liquidity on the value of your creation on culture. So I think that part is really meaningful for folks to understand how to meaningful it is in the world of crypto and in the world of traditional finance. We have a few more questions, and I mean, honestly, they're rolling in. I'm almost overwhelmed by all of them, but I'm going to try and get a few more in our remaining moments together. Let's see here. Oh, let's do a question for AAVE. Rich Rodriguez says, will AAVE be interlinked to XRP or BTC with Kava to borrow and lend? A bit more technical of a question. Help us understand first and foremost what the question is with all of those acronyms, and then help us understand what your answer is to it. Will AAVE be interlinked to XRP, the crypto coin, or BTC, Bitcoin, like Kava to borrow and lend?
Well, I think I can take that one. Like right now, the AAVE protocol is working in decentralized fashion, so it's really up to the community to develop different market on those chain. I think what's more happening is that you see for example wrap Bitcoin on Ethereum, and you can use those in AAVE. We could imagine one day that XRP is doing wrapped XRP on the Ethereum chain, and maybe the community vote that in the AAVE protocol. I think that will be the way that is easier rather than using another like layer on top or below to give access to it. Like there is already billions of Bitcoin worth of assets in DeFi to wrap different wrapped Bitcoin version.
Okay. How do you decide how many copies of a token to issue initially from a larger quantity minted? Just generally, how do you think about a one of one or a limited edition or an open edition? Help us understand that from an artist's point of view.
Yeah, I think scarcity is a real thing in any kind of token and an NFT as well. So basically, you want to make sure that it's still a unique asset for people. And so the numbers that I came about with the project is 100 unique boys and 1,000 boys in general. So basically in that, I do play around between Boys for the People and editions, which are instruments that allow people to participate within the community without needing to buy things and prices they really can't afford. So that was the reason why I started Boy for the People and why we will have Girl for the People. And it's just about to make sure that people can engage without, not being able to engage. And when it comes to one-on-one, people do want to have this unique asset for themselves. And it's totally admirable. I think sometimes I also want to have something that is unique to me and I'm willing to pay more money for it if I'm making something that's custom. And so the same thing goes for one-of-ones versus editions. So it's basically, it's a way for the community to be engaged on the one hand, and it's a way for collectors to feel like they have a unique asset on the other.
This is a really amazing question that's connected to that. What makes NFTs different from the ICO boom and bust?
I really wasn't around for that, so I could have no idea.
Yeah, I think, yeah, me and Jordan could answer. I would say that back in then, like the kind of like ICO boom and bust was more about like fundraising. So basically, projects having an idea on a piece of paper, and then raising substantial amount of funds, and then of course kind of like when there is like so much rush into the market, and so much ideas, and like you don't have ready products and so forth. What actually happened is that a lot of these projects kind of like melted down, and that's actually quite normal in a startup environment. So if you look at, for example, what's happening in venture capital, most of the projects do not succeed. But what happens is that more talent is created from them, and that talent is proceeding to other companies, creating other startups, and then creating success stories. And I think like what we have now is completely different. Like definitely like NFTs are now going to the mainstream and people are hearing about them. But the main difference here is that there is like a creation from the artist. So actually you're creating and selling work. And the ICO boom was more about actually like a fundraising and future promises, whereas here we're buying what we love and not buying like what we necessarily want to kind of like invest. But Jordan has more on this.
I think for anyone who was there in like 2017, 2018, there is project that raised like $500 million or like even multiple, just like based on ideas. Of course, when you have those millions, you can execute those ideas. Some people didn't even succeed to execute those ideas. But actually, like Stani said here, you are not buying into ideas. You are just like buying an artwork. You are buying something. Of course, if you are going into NFTs just to speculate, there is high chance that you are going to get wrecked. And that's just like, if you are buying art to speculate, I hope for you that you know the art market, that you know the dynamics of like those communities, and that you are studying a lot what's happening. I buy personally because the primary thing why I buy is I appreciate the art. If I can sell back that art and keep, maybe I have like two pieces of an artist, and I plan to sell one of them maybe in a couple of years, and I hope to sell it for much more money, of course. That's something great. But if I'm not able to sell them and I have like two pieces, I still make sure that I will be happy for each of my buys. And I think that should be like, you should not have any expectation of return, otherwise you will get frustrated.
So to that note, it's interesting we're talking about fundraising, financing, art. If someone is an artist and they've fallen on hard times due to COVID and they don't have the income, or maybe it's just $1,000 worth or $5,000 worth or $10,000 worth to create the visual artwork that they would like to, how could they use AAVE, or how could they use community and pooling to get the resources that they need to create the work and then go forth to make that artwork be available at an NFT, ideally coming out with a margin that allows them to pay the money back and still benefit from the profit of their NFT? How does that work?
So on the AAVE side, there is like this tool that is called credit delegation, where you can have an advance from a peer that you trust. So of course, like there is a trust relationship. You need someone that has money that is willing to give credit to you. This is like a peer-to-peer relation. This is not a trustless relationship. But eventually, if we go back to the art level, and just like my own opinion, you could just create anything. Like just let your creativity work. You don't need to have capital to create. Like you can just like be crafty. You can make something physical and take a picture out of it, and sell that physical experience, and get funding through your first sale. I think like you don't need to create something that is like that takes 40 hours to render into a very powerful computer or something like this. Like sell your art that you can do, and grow from that. I think that's always, you don't need money to create. Creativity is something that maybe take time. Like a lot of the greatest artists, they were discovered like throughout the end of their life even. So like sometimes it just takes decades to get discovered as a creative. But I guess that's just like the pain and the reward of being an artist.
Yes, I would say that there is an opportunity today via Twitter and the very, very vivacious community that there's a lot of people on Twitter just looking to support an artist. So I'll sort of compress those decades into maybe a few weeks and perhaps even days. And there are so many platforms that folks can purchase NFTs on to become discovered. Liron, we'll give you the final word here. What do you have to finally say around this opportunity, this meeting of art and finance that is so rarely coming together? Tell us more on what you think there and how we can just also participate in your creative work.
Yeah. So first of all, I did want to really, really thank the boys and girls community, because without them, I really wouldn't have been where I am today. And there are some real stars in the communities that have started a movement around like boys memes, like Orphan and Ryan, people who are really dedicated to working the Discord channel that was just open, and like really hyping the idea of community around an NFT project, which is something that's also brand new. It's also just kind of happened in the past couple of weeks that people understand that collecting together, it's not just a financial instrument. It's really about being connected in a way. It's about the things that you love seeing. It's about the things that you love collecting. It's about the art that you get attracted to. And it's about the fun of the games that are happening around NFT nowadays. There's a really interesting project called The Watcher that everyone started playing right now, and it's evolving between, you know, the idea of NFT but also game and a scavenger hunt. So I think there's so many things that we still can do with the work, and I'm on my end really trying to develop what the relationship between the physical and the NFT is, and how far can I push that, and how can we build a brand around this NFT project, Boys and Girls, and really bring it into the commercial world as well as just having it around us in a more physical way, but still having the idea of ownership and of, you know, the royalties on the work tied into the NFT and that like amazing technology. And so for me, that's really, really exciting. And the other thing is that I really do love the idea that technology could give us tools to create more and more community around the work. Like the idea of airdrops, for example, it's been used in DeFi, where companies use airdrop to gift or to give their users, their early adopters, the tokens, and being a part of this pool of community of tokens. And that's something that I would absolutely love to do more often with the boys and the girls, to really give back to the community, because I am inspired by them and by you, Stani and Jordan, and everyone who's a part of this project. I'm inspired every single day. So that for me, that's the next thing that I want to get involved in, is like starting to really build more technological tools to be able to integrate the community in a way that's more meaningful. And that could be governance, but it also could be a more robust system of airdrops. And in terms of being an artist in this field, I don't think I've ever been more empowered and inspired to create. And it's monetizing the work is one side of it, and it's incredible. And I've never had the chance to do what I'm doing right now. And I would never say that I'm not happy about it, but it's really not the focus. In the beginning, it was overwhelming. It was a lot. I didn't even know what to think and what to do with it. And then I decided to really kind of not think about it that much, because I've enjoyed the aspect of creating and community a lot more. And so I really, really want to make sure that this is what I lead with moving forward. Yeah, this was great.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much to every single person who stayed on. We have 66 questions in the queue. Unfortunately, we could not get to everyone. We have an amazing legal questions and commercial artists, and people want to know more about AAVE. So everyone, please go and find these amazing people, connect with them on Twitter, connect with them on social media, connect with them on their respective platforms. This is a really special moment in history, everyone. You are here. You are one of the 230 people who decided you were going to show up for the next generation of the internet. This moment is now, and you are connected and learning from the right minds. So we look forward to continuing to see you all in the metaverse, continuing to see you all in the internet. And this is just a victory for everyone. Congrats to everyone. I'm so inspired by you all, and take care. Have an amazing day. Shout out to you, Crypto Compare. Amazing job, Alyssa and Ajit. Thanks, everybody, and see you all next time.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Erikan.
Erikan.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.